Today we will be learning about distance and midpoints. Specifically, we'll be learning about distance formulas in the midpoint formula. Finding distance on a number line is pretty simple. We could just simply count from point A to point B and can see that it is 6 apart. Well, distance is actually a function of the distance formula. What we do is we take point A, which is at 1, point B, which is at 7, and subtract them. When we do that subtraction, we get -6. Distance cannot be negative, so we say our answer is 6. That is why we say it is for absolute value. Distance is always a positive number. Also notice how it says find AB. It's not asking us to find something on a picture. When we write find AB, what we're actually asking is to find the distance from A to B. Next, why don't you try one? Press pause and calculate the distance from C to D. Although there are two ways you could have calculated this, you would have got to the answer of 21 no matter how you did it. 14 minus -7 equals the absolute value of 21, which is 21. So we see the distance from C to D on a number line is 21. Now when we're in a coordinate plane, this calculation is quite a bit different, but you'll see some of the similarities that we did in a number line. Now, do you remember the distance formula from algebra? If not, that is a formula that you can find inside the back cover of your book. If you've forgotten it, it is now on the screen. Let's give it a try. The first thing we need to remember are which are the x-coordinates. In this question, it's the 2 and the 5. Now I need to choose which is going to be my x2. I will use the 5 as my x2, which makes the 2 my x1. So I set up my problem. x2 minus x1 squared plus, now if 5 is x2, that means 8 has to be y2. So now we have 8 minus 4, also squared. Now hopefully the next math step should be pretty easy once you have the formula set up. 5 minus 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9. 8 minus 4 is 4. 4 squared is 16. 9 plus 16 is 25. The square root of 25 is 5. So we now can see the distance from E to F is 5. Next is midpoint. Midpoint is pretty much exactly what it says. It is the middle point. By definition, it is a point which is halfway from the endpoints. We can tell that on our picture because of the tick marks. There's a single tick mark between X and M, and another single tick mark between M and Y. Since they both have one tick mark, that means they are equal in length. So to find the coordinates of a number of 2 points on a number line, we add them together and divide by 2. So 1 plus 7 is 8, divided by 2 is 4. That means 4 is our midpoint. And we can see that from 1 to 4 is 3, and from 4 to 7 is 3. So it is indeed the midpoint. Next, we're going to find the midpoints in a coordinate plane. This formula is also located in the back of your book. To find the midpoint on a coordinate plane, we take x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and we take that and we can leave it as a mixed or improper fraction. You will see me most often leave it as an improper fraction. So we've done the y coordinates, now we need to do the x coordinates. Or excuse me, we've done the x, now we need to do the y. So we have 8 plus 4 divided by 2. The calculation is done exactly the same. We add the two coordinates together and divide by 2. In this case, we end up with a whole number, 6. So our answer is find the coordinates of the midpoint. The midpoint would be at 7/2 and 6. Take a moment and look at this question. Do you see how this question is different than the last question about a midpoint on a number line? What you should have noticed is that we are given one endpoint, which is 8. We're given the midpoint, which is 15. However, we are missing the other endpoint. So this time we're not looking for a midpoint, but we're going to use the midpoint to find the missing endpoint. The simplest way to do this is to calculate how far is it from one endpoint to the middle. And we can see that distance is 7. Well, since M is a midpoint, then it must be true that the distance from the midpoint to the other endpoint must be 7. Now do you know what the coordinate of F should be? If you said 22, you are correct. 15 plus 7 equals 22. Similarly, on a coordinate plane, we're missing the two coordinates of our endpoint G. We can use the same strategies we used for the number line. How far is it from 6 to 2? Well, to go from 6 to 2, we calculate using the distance formula that we learned about a number line as we subtract them, and we see we went down 4. From 6, we went down to 2, which would be going down 4. So now if we start at 2 and we go down 4, we end at -2. We have one of our points, or one of our coordinates. Now we need to do it for the y. We start at 9, we go to 3, and we went down 6. Now we're going to start at 3, go down 6, and we end at -3. Now we have both parts of our ordered pair. G is at -2, comma, -3. The last part of the lesson today is the definition of a segment bisector. When we talk about a bisector, it is something that cuts another object in half. So here we want to cut a segment into two equal halves. This can be done by anything. That could be a point, it could be a plane, it could be a line segment, which will cut any segment into two congruent pieces. So in our picture, M is a midpoint of AB. The plane N, the line segment MD, and the line RM all bisect AB. That means all of those things cut AB into two congruent pieces. We would mark that with a single tick mark on that segment AB. If you have any questions about today's lesson, please make sure to ask tomorrow.